Welcome to the July episode of Vegetables Matter. This is a craft cast about my fiber life, and I feel like a lot this year. I haven't had a lot to show each episode, but I do have quite a bit more. I've been having a lot more time for fiber this month. So let's see, the things that I'll be sharing today is I do just have one finished object. Well, two if you count spinning. And I've done some mending that I will share, a dye bath, and kind of the main thing is it is the tour de fleece right now. In fact, I wanted to record this before it was over just because I don't know, it's a really fun time, and I just kind of wanted this episode to be in the midst of that rather than after that. So how to do things. I kind of want to start with the tour de fleece just because it's what's happening right now. I'm actually multitasking right now. I needed to get my spinning in for the day, and I was also really wanting to film this, and so I'm doing them both at the same time. So my goal with the tour de fleece, which started sometime in June, June 28th, and I think it ends on July 19th. Today's July 17th, so there's just a couple more days. My goal has just been to spin every day, and I've been doing pretty good at that. I realized that it was the tour de fleece the day after it started, and so I hadn't spun the day before. But other than that, I've been doing good. There was one day I wasn't able to spin, but I had kind of gotten some extra spinning in the day before. Basically, I ended up swapping some things so that, anyway, I feel fine with it. So that is to say, yeah, I felt fine with how I navigated that. So spinning. Let's first show the finished object. So the finished object, it was just finishing up what I already had on the wheel, which was the indigo dyed silk. So here is this skein. I have not yet measured it or anything, so I'm not quite sure. It looks pretty similar to the previous skein that I'd done with the safflower. So these are my two little silk skeins. And I want to keep doing more, but that also felt good for now. But yeah, I'll keep dyeing up some of this silk and spinning it up, and someday make something with them. So after I finished the silk spin, I was wondering what to do next. There were a few different options. I could have continued with the Icelandic that I spun earlier. I had finished the project for the mittens, which is my knitting finished object. I'll show that to you later. But I also was wanting to continue spinning some of that because I'm wanting to alter a sweater that I made using that fiber. And so I could have spun more for that. However, I didn't really feel like it. What I really wanted to do was start spinning these yellow fibers that I had pulled out for some other mittens that I'm very interested in making. So I still was a bit torn though, because what I have for that is a bunch of fiber that needs to be carded. And my drum carder was all set up to be working with the Icelandic, and I didn't want to clean it to start this new thing. And so I felt like, oh, I really just want to finish carding all of that, but I don't actually want to do that right now. Anyway, what do? I was just feeling conflicted. And then I had a really good idea that rather than using the drum carder for this, I could use some hand cards. So that's what I've been doing. I've been hand carding this. And yeah, it's been enjoyable. I haven't done a lot of hand carding, and so yeah, it just feels good to do, and it's an effective way of carding as well. So right now I have some rolags already, and yeah, I've actually been switching back and forth though. So I did something that I don't know if I've ever done before, which was I sampled for this project. Because I did have a specific project in mind for this spin, I decided to sample. I didn't go super thorough, but what I did is I actually have this other fiber, which is more the color that I maybe would have wanted, but I don't necessarily think that I have enough of this. And so I thought, you know, what about doing one ply with this and one ply with this and getting this, you know, yellowy fiber. The mittens that I'm making, I'll have to look, I don't know what they're called or who they're by, but they're these really beautiful mitts with like a honeybee, a honeycomb, that's what it's called, a honeycomb pattern on it. I've been really drawn to this pattern for quite a few years, and I'm really excited to be spinning for it. So that's the idea. So this is what I first sampled, and I think it's kind of cool to have the marled look. I think all of the projects that I saw of this pattern, everyone had a really solid color, but I thought that it could be really nice, you know, and a little bit more bee-like to have it a little more striped. We'll see. I didn't actually like knit this up to see how it would work, because also after I sampled this, then I looked at the wraps per inch, and then I looked at the pattern. I was aiming for like a DK weight with this, and it definitely ended up being thinner than that. And then when I looked at the pattern again, it actually says it's a heavy DK, so I mean even pretty close to worsted. So when I did wraps per inch with this little one, I got 15 wraps per inch, and the pattern was calling more for like 10 wraps per inch. So I probably should have done more sampling, but what I ended up deciding to do is, because I also realized, you know, this is a 2-ply and this is a cabled pattern, and so that's maybe not ideal for it. So I thought, you know, why don't I keep it about as thin? Why don't I spin it about as thin as this? But instead of doing a 2-ply, my plan is to do a 3-ply. 2 of the plies with this one, and 1 of the plies with this one. So I haven't actually sampled to see what that looks like, but I'm just going for it, and I think it's gonna be fun. I'm excited about it. So I've actually been going back and forth with spinning some of this and spinning with this. So this is what I have so far of that, of the roving. This is the dock dye bath that my friend Rachel and I did last year. It's a really beautiful golden color, and it's been fun to spin with. And this stuff is from when I was really first getting into spinning and dyeing and all of that stuff. This is a bunch of Suffolk that I got at the time, and it is dyed with either rabbit brush or goldenrod, and actually I have some of both, and they're just kind of getting mixed in at this point. I'm just kind of using all the yellows that I have. Yeah, so that is the plan. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. One thing I'll say with the Tour de Fleece is just, it is really enjoyable to challenge myself to spin every day. I love spinning, and it's not something I do every day. I can go for months sometimes without really, without sitting down properly at the spinning wheel. And it's just been so good to be able to have this be a priority on the to-do list. I'm not okay until I've done it for the day. Yeah, I think every year when it comes around, I find that, and it's not something that I can challenge myself to do every day of the year at all, but I do really, really enjoy this time for spinning. Yeah, it's awesome. The dye bath that I'll show later on is actually this year's dock dye bath that I also did with my friend Rachel. So So I have been traveling a fair bit as well. I did a nice solstice trip up to the Bighorn Mountains, which is really when I finally got to be properly fibering again, and I got properly obsessed again as well. It was so fun just to have the time to be knitting and knitting and knitting, and then mending, and just doing all of that. It just got me really obsessed and just thinking more like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I really had been doing so little that I hadn't even been dreaming that much about things I wanted to do. And then since then, so right now I have some time off from work. It's not 100% off, but I only have to work 1 day a week. So I've also been going down to Torrey a lot, working on the house that we're building down there. So when I'm down there, I don't have my spinning wheel with me. So I've been bringing my drop spindle down, and it's actually down there right now. I'll be heading down to Torrey later today, and I've just been keeping it down there as a project. So that has been what I've been spinning on when I'm down there. Actually, last time we were down there, we also went up into the Henry Mountains, which was really fun, and I had it there. And I think I'll be able to insert here. My husband took a little video of me spinning at the peak of Mount Ellen, so I'm hoping to include that. So I've used my wheel and I've used my drop spindle, and I also have busted out my book charkha. Just up in the Henry Mountains, so I think I spun on it 2 days, and also I did drop spinning both of those days. So I haven't used it a lot, but it was fun to break it out. I hadn't touched it for about 6 months. So I guess I'll put that away. So here it is, the book charkha. I'll be bringing this down to Torrey as well. I haven't showed this in a while because I did work on some stuff back in December, but there wasn't really that much, so I didn't show it. So I think in December I finished up this little spindle. And then my friend Megan was out here, and come on, go back in. There we go. And she helped me set up the other spindles that I have. They weren't ready to be spun on. So what do I have there? I have 2 other spindles. So I don't know if you can see this, where to put this, but there's this little stop right here, and it's not supposed to move, and it does. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with this one, and this is what I got set up in December. She helped me know like how to do it and stuff, but I need to work on it more. Yeah, I started trying to work with this in the Henry Mountains, and then said, let's try using the other spindle instead. It took quite a while to get used to spinning on this again, but then once I finally started, then it was really nice. So this one, it's also moving, but I was more delicate with it at the beginning and made sure to not be pushing it too far up. Because basically, if it's sliding up, then it's all getting cramped and you actually stop being able to spin. So anyway, that's what I ended up spinning in the Henry Mountains on this. Yeah, again, like I said, it was good to get it out and just start learning more, just getting more used to it again, because it's definitely very different and it's tricky. So yeah, like I said, I'll be bringing this down to Tori again so that I do have some more spinning available to myself, because I'm almost done with the fiber that I have for the drop spindle. Yeah, this will be fun as well to have this with me, because I think I'll try scanning them up. There's a little tool in here for that, which I haven't tried doing yet. So it might be nice just to pull off that full bobbin, skein it up, and then have a proper bobbin where the little stop doesn't move. Yeah, what I've been spinning on here is the fiber that I got when I purchased the charkha, which is, I forget exactly what the woman called it. If I remember, it was 20% cotton, no, sorry, 80% cotton, 20% baby doll wool, I want to say. It's been good. I think it's been a good thing to practice with. Who knows, maybe something else would be good too, to be learning on, but for me, this has felt good. I just threw in right now as well, because I thought it could be fun to try a spindles full of something else. So I just threw in as well this, this cotton roving that was safflower dyed and then over dyed with indigo, but this apparently got lost and didn't get over dyed. So I'm hoping to maybe spin up a spindle full of that in the coming little bit. I'm going to be down in Tori for the next 12 days, so I'm wanting to make sure to have some good projects. Okay, and I think that's it for spinning. Yeah, it's just been really enjoyable though. So I like my style of doing it, where I just challenge myself to spin every day rather than I'm going to get through all of this, or I'm going to spin this much yardage or anything like that. It's just, I'm going to make sure to spend some concerted time at the spinning wheel every day. And there's definitely been days more and days less, but I would say on average I've been spending at least a half hour spinning, and then a few days significantly more time as well. And by significantly, that's never like 3 hours, but maybe up to an hour and a half a couple times. Okay, so normally I do finished objects first, but I just thought that spinning would be fun. So back to my finished object, which was actually the first thing I really did for this month, which is the mittens for my husband deer. So again, I finished this up in the Bighorn Mountains. This was the one project I had to show last time, and yeah, it was just really great to finish it up. And it was particularly nice because he was really excited about them, because it was very cold up there. Plenty of snow. We backpacked in and stayed for a few nights, and I was like, let's just stay until we run out of food and water. We don't really have a timeline. Let's just stay as long as we can. And to expand that, we ended up drinking and eating lots of snow to make our water stash last longer, which was really fun and good for the dogs and everything. So basically it was plenty cold, and so my husband was quite excited. He's like, oh, as soon as you finish with those, I'll use them. And yeah, he was able to use them. He calls them his summer solstice gloves. They don't fit me quite as well as him, but you know, I had seen him, he does a lot of film work, camera work, and he has gloves, but in order to work the camera stuff, I see him always just like have to take them off in sometimes like bitterly cold weather. I mean, he's getting up really early to do sunrise shots, and it can be really, really cold. And so I was the one who suggested that I do a style like this. I was like, you know, I think this could really work well for you. And he loves them. He's just like, oh my gosh, this is it. And I mean, they just work really, really well. So it's been really good how much he's loved them. That they really work. I love fingerless gloves. They're really smart. So that was really awesome. Finished those up, and then another project I brought on that trip was some mending. And this was fun because these were the socks that I had worked on last year. We actually went to the Bighorn Mountains for the summer solstice as well. And one thing I really remember from that trip was working on these socks, and then later on I dyed them in Hopi sunflowers. But it was my first cabled pattern, and yeah, just a really, really interesting pattern. And they were getting quite thin. So I used the same yarn. So the yarn was white when I knitted it, and then I dyed the socks, and then I just had like the leftovers. And when I did a walnut dye bath last year, I threw those leftovers in there. And anyway, I ended up just saying, oh yeah, I think that color would be really cute, and it's the same yarn. Let's go ahead and do it. This is a Rowan superwash yarn. Yeah, so just did a little square there. And this must have been the one that actually like had almost a hole. I mean, yeah, if I had worn it again, it would have completely exploded. This one was getting thin, and so I just patched that as well, but it's a bit smaller of a square there, and I think they turned out super cute, and it's good to have them back in commission. I actually haven't worn them since because I didn't really want to wear them backpacking. I mean, they don't have nylon in them, so maybe that's it, but I just wear through socks really quickly. I mean, I made these last year. I have not worn these very heavily. Like, I'm pretty sparing with my hand knit socks because I do wear through them, you know, in less than a year, not heavy use. I'm needing to patch them. Anyway, so I didn't want to like be backpacking with like a heavy backpack wearing these, and then once you get down here, it's really hot. So haven't worn them, but they are ready to go. I did some other mending as well. My husband had a sweater with some holes in it, and then I also was working on a blanket that was coming undone, but I didn't finish with that. I didn't quite have all the tools that I needed. I do now, but now it's hot and I don't really want to be working on a wool blanket. So, but yeah, it's been good just to continue with focusing on mending, making sure I'm incorporating that into my life. So I guess now that I've recorded a new one, it's time to mend something else as well. It's like, that's it for the month. It's time now. The next thing is dyeing. So my friend has quite a bit of dock that just grows up in her yard. So I went over there and we dug it up. Kind of looked at our notes from what we did last year. Last year we did this in May, and this year we did it at the end of June. So, and I've heard people get different results and not as good of results as we got the first time. And I wondered, you know, that very well could be with when we harvested it. So this time the seeds were brown, whereas before everything was still really green. So yeah, we dug up the roots, we scrubbed them, we cut them off from the greens and just used the roots. Last time we had experimented using the greens as well, but it didn't seem worthwhile, so we didn't do that this time. Boiled that up, at which point I actually had to leave, and so Rachel finished it for us. And again, we did two separate things. So we have pre-mordanted fiber that then got, after we extracted the dye from the roots, then I think she split that into two. And then we dyed our pre-mordanted fibers and continued to be in the hot water and simmering water. And then the other dye bath she let cool and then put our non-mordanted fibers in there to then let them sit for like a week or two and do a fermentation bath. And I actually don't have the results from that yet. I know she has pulled them out and stuff, but I have not seen her in way too long. But this is what I got, and these have already been rinsed now. I did do my typical where I waited for a few weeks, but they have been rinsed now. So this is what we got. They're not quite as golden as last year. And of course the color's not turning out that great. They're pretty. They're like complementary to this one from last year, but they have a little bit more brown in them. But here they are. So some more dock dye, and then it's fun that at the same time I'm spinning up my previous dock dye. So it's been good to move through things. I know I've talked on here, but I do have a commitment to not. Sorry, I do have a. What's happening? My hair. I've got this microphone, so I realized that my hair was on top of it. I have a commitment to not buy any more fibers this year, particularly because my stash to spin is so large, and it's been really good just to be working through it. I mean, these, obviously there's still plenty, but these are projects that are in there that I'm working through, and I feel like next year it will be time then to then increase a little bit, but it's been really good to work through what I have. So another fun, exciting thing is a purchase that I made. Again, part of not buying any fiber this year also made me realize that opens up some money for buying some tools that I would like. And I have wanted a table loom for years. Early on in college, I was able to take an amazing class called the Fundamentals of Fiber Design, where we really just got to learn about all sorts of things. And in that class, that's when I first was able to weave. On a little table loom, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I got to warp for the first time, and just learning all of that was fantastic. And then 2 years ago now, I can't believe it's been 2 years almost, right before I first started this craft cast, I took a weaving class up in Salt Lake, and again got to weave on a table loom, different brand. This one was definitely a larger table loom, but again, I loved it. And I know people really go for, like, if people actually get into weaving, no one seems to get table looms. They all get floor looms, but who has space for a floor loom? I've really, really enjoyed the table loom. So I've been looking for years for a table loom, and they just don't come up. Like, I look on KSL, which is like a local version of Craigslist. It's where I got this spinning wheel. It's where I got this Suffolk fiber. It's where I've gotten all my chickens. It's where I got my dogs, my cat. It's where you get lots of stuff. And nothing, 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 nothing. And I had finally given up and said, okay, I'm just gonna have to buy a new one. You know, it costs this much money, but you know, that's okay, whatever, I'll just buy it. But I have a hard time buying things. So, you know, I went online and found what I wanted and had it all ready. And then, I don't know, I just kind of panic. I'm just like, is it really what I want? Is it really gonna, you know, be worth it? You know, is this really the right decision? And I just kind of panicked and didn't do it. And I kept the tab up, and every few days I'd be like, oh yeah, should I get that? And one day, and I kind of want to say in my mind that like I would have gotten it otherwise, but I don't think that I would have. But I was like, you know, I should just look on KSL again. And I think I tried this a few times, you know, it's just like, well, maybe it'll really happen. Because that is actually how I got this one. I was looking and looking and looking, and things weren't coming up. And I really only gave myself like about a month to find this. But I wanted it by my birthday, and it just wasn't happening and wasn't happening. And I was looking every day, and finally, like, I think the day before my birthday, I looked and it was there and I got it. But I had basically like I had been so hopeful the whole time, and then I had finally given up hope and then looked and it was there. So I was just, you know, so I kind of had the same thing, like, well, I've given up, like, I'll look again. And I had done this, you know, in the week since I had decided to buy one from the Woolery. Anyway, so again, I was like, well, let's look on KSL, and there it was. There was a loom. So, sorry, I hope that story made sense. I kind of was referring back to different things. So I bought a loom. It's not totally functional right now. It is, shoot, now I'm forgetting. A Structo, yeah, that's what it is. It is a Structo art craft loom. And hopefully here I will be inserting some footage of it. So the issue is, and yeah, I need to find out more about it, but I've been really focusing my attention on spinning, but eventually I will focus more attention over to the loom. So I can't figure out a way to make the levers stay down, you know? So yeah, anyway, but it does seem like, I didn't know this when I bought it, but it does seem like there's like a following for these looms. They're kind of old, and you know, this is definitely an antique. And yeah, it's really quite beautiful. I'm a little nervous. You know, I feel like sometimes I get these antique things, you know, it's just like, oh yeah, you know, I'll make it work. And then like my sewing machine right here, I've basically given up on it. Like, I love it. It's beautiful, and it's overly intimidated me with sewing. And I just feel like I need something different because I'm not that accomplished of a sewer. And the one thing that I sewed on it, when I washed it, it all split apart. So anyway, that's really discouraging, and I'm just like, that's not gonna work. So I'm a little bit nervous that I may have done the same thing with this loom as well, but I want to give it a go and see what I can find out, learn from some people who know more. I tried to join a group online, but I don't know, like maybe the group died, maybe I don't know how to use Yahoo groups. Anyway, I need to find another group for it, but I haven't yet. So that's that. I do also, especially because this was a lot cheaper than buying a new one, I definitely think it's time to get a warping board. Yeah, it's time. So that's something that should happen this year, I believe. So keep an eye out for that. That's it fiber-wise. I do want to share some of the garden. I don't think I'm going to be actually filming that video today. I think I'll do it when I come back from Tori. But the garden is pretty happy right now. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait But yeah, I've definitely been eating from the garden. I actually harvested the last of the lettuces today, but I've been eating delicious salads the past month or whenever I started harvesting them. Definitely the most successful lettuce year that I've ever had, because I haven't had much success in the past. So that's been really awesome. I love me a salad. Some things are a bit smaller than I would like, but corn and squash are going off, as well as well, I don't know if the beans are going off. They're growing. I harvested all the garlic and have a bunch of garlic braids. Yeah, lots of garlic, lots of yummy garlic. And I'm just beginning to harvest zucchinis. Harvested the first one yesterday, and before I head out to Torrey, I'm going to harvest another one, and then we'll see how much more growth there is when I come back. Anything else? Dye garden, but again, I'll do a tour of the garden. Lots of peas, been eating peas. This is the potato patch. It's going good. I mean, there's some weeds and stuff in it, but that's one thing I love about potatoes is you can really just kind of ignore them once they get planted. I did actually throw in this one tomato plant as well. There was kind of a blank spot there, so when I was planting some tomatoes, I threw it in there. What is happening over there? It looks like a tomato. Let's see, can I zoom in? It looks like there's a tomato there, but it definitely looks like a potato plant. I don't really know what's going on. I haven't seen them reproduce that way before. Okay, and here's kind of the big square over here. I harvested all the garlic, so that used to be over here. What I have going on in these little pots now are some little baby ponderosas that I planted. It came just from one seed, it seems like. Let's see, can I get the focus better? There we go. And I just transplanted them right before I left back in July into some bigger pots so they can grow a little bit more. And back here, this is some holy basil that just smells divine. And I saved the leaves for tea. Okay, so here's the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash. The corn's getting pretty darn tall. Yeah, it was exciting to come back and things were looking good. There's some ears growing. These ones are looking good, but actually the majority of them, if you look over here, they've all lost their silks at the top. Earwigs have just gotten in and eaten those silks, so I'm very concerned that they're not going to be able to get pollinated, is the word, I guess. And so then they're not really going to truly develop. So anyway, they're gorgeous. They're looking good for the most part, except for that. So that could be really problematic. You can see some beans climbing up the vines. I'm not seeing any flowers or fruits yet on those beans. And actually, it's been weird. I just thought that the beans would be able to climb up on their own pretty well, but so often I've just been finding them like sprawling on the ground and kind of had to throw them up. I think that's what happened with this one the other day. I just sort of threw it up, say, hey, climb up. The squash is doing really well though. Let's see if I can peer in here. There's a big one. It's probably about 2 feet long. Looking really good. It's a pretty blossom. Another blossom. These are some Brussels sprouts. This is a second year one, so I harvested some seeds from it a bit ago. There's another big squash, and in there you can see a little baby squash that may or may not develop. I guess I'll just keep going through. Back here I've got my lone zucchini plant, and ooh, there's a zucchini that needs to be harvested there. Yummy. I haven't gotten a lot of zucchini. This is just the third one. Again, some potatoes. I actually, when I was out in the garden yesterday, I harvested some. There was a dead plant, so harvested some. There's a few radishes and beets. This area has been really challenging with the weeds this year. It's just been really demanding. So out here are the tomatoes and amaranth and peppers and marigolds. None of them are doing quite as well as I would like. I think, the amaranth you can see really well there. It looks gorgeous, but I guess I expected it to be a little bit bushier. The tomatoes, you can see this is my most thriving plant, and it just has a few quite small tomatoes on it. The other ones don't even really have anything. We're into August. This is my most successful pepper. The other ones are really quite small. They didn't develop very well. The marigolds are looking good here, and there's another one over there that's borne a lot more flowers. What else to show out here? Here's one more squash. Nice big one. Yeah, so here's a pretty small pepper plant. Not much is happening. The amaranth really is just so beautiful. I haven't been harvesting it as much. I think I didn't really know how. You can see there's like darker leaves. This is how it all was when it was first growing, and then as it's gotten older, a lot of these leaves have really bleached out and are looking more green than red. Anyway, so you can be eating the leaves this whole time, and I haven't been. I've started to, but yeah. Yeah, and over here, still the peas. They're still producing a little bit, but not as much. I honestly haven't delved in as much as I should have. They're kind of dying back. I finished harvesting all the lettuces, so there's some space there for some fall garden things. This stuff over here has been slowly recovering from chickens demolishing it, and I still have a chicken who gets out and eats away at it. So she's also been eating. I've got these little tomatoes here, and she's been eating those too. Yeah, so these tomato plants are the only things that haven't been planted from seeds. Recently I went and just got a few more because mine just haven't been doing as well as anticipated. So anyway, I got some more and planted them as space was opening up. Over here are the Hopi sunflowers. They're looking nice and big. When I got home, this one was just in perfect bloom. It has since lost its bloom, but there will be some more busting out in a little bit. If we go down to the bottom, we can see the murasaki that I planted. This is a dye plant that should give, the roots should give some purple dye. It'll take a couple years though. It's similar to madder. There's a few in the front, and I think it looks like 2 survived in the back. Hi, chicks. Hi, chickens. Okay, that's the front yard. Let's head over to the back. Okay, so here's the backyard. This is take 3. Been having some technical difficulties. Here's the sweet corn, which is my first time growing, and there is some squash growing here. However, when I came home from Tori, I let the chicks out. I hadn't because I didn't trust them back here being gone that long, and I let them out while I was at work that day, and I came back and there used to be a squash right there, and it's gone. There was another one in here that they ate. However, luckily they didn't eat all of them, so I still have 4 on this plant. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one over here. I just learned that squashes only grow about 4 to 5 fruits. So yeah, I guess that'll be all for this one. Hopefully some of the other ones will grow more though, because I only have 1 on this plant. But I need to show it to you from over here. First, I guess this one. This one has just 2 on it, and they are green rather than yellow, which I would have expected for a spaghetti squash, and then I figured as they ripened up they would turn yellow, but the other ones are just already yellow. So there's that, and a little baby one in here. Hopefully these will get some more fruits going, but we'll see. And then the day after the chickens ate the 2 on the other plant, I let them out some more and they went to town on this one. So they're banished, although we're still letting them out, but only supervised. But even then I worry. Let's see, in take 2, I learned that, yeah, the beans, I recently planted some beans and they are beginning to pop up. There's a nice bean. Ooh, that has an insect attacking it. I haven't had that happen with beans before. I'm gonna have to learn about that. Is there any more over here? Yep. Oh good, this is good to see these popping up. I thought maybe they weren't. Oh, again, different type of insect attacking that one. So hopefully we'll get some beans over here. There are some little ears beginning to form. Whoa, what's going on there? But again, look at those evil earwigs. I need to learn what to do to get rid of earwigs. Sorry. Okay, let's go over to the dye box. It's just kind of overflowing with stuff, which is fun. The really big tall ones are the Tango Cosmos, and they are just about to start blooming. You can see these blossoms. This one is probably going to bloom today. Over here, this one's already beginning to open up. That's the first one, which is very fun. And here's the Dyer's Chamomile. This plant has started producing. In take 2, I pulled off the first couple flowers to start collecting for a dye bath, although it sounds like you need a lot of the flowers to make it work. Some more flowers. Can you see it? Yeah, there we go. There's also madder, pretty small in here. Already it was getting kind of overgrown by all the other things, and then chickens got in here a bit too and smashed some things down, so I had some harsh words for them when I was discovering that. The madder's so fun. It's just so velcro-y. It's just clinging to my fingers. I don't know if you can really see, but you really just have to feel and experience it. Just velcro. So there's more of those back here. They're kind of in a diagonal. Here, and then in the back corner. Back here. So, yeah. Anyway, those take a few years, so at least they got a little bit started this year, and hopefully they'll just continue. Okay, on to the trees. Last time I showed them, the apricot tree was not doing so well, but I thought it was just kind of a difficult year and it would recover and do better next year. But no, it had root rot, and yeah, it just got worse and worse and worse from there. So it's gone. This is where it was. We're just kind of holding the place. We will plant another tree there. Yeah, hasn't happened yet. Probably in the fall. I think that's a better time. But I will show the other trees. So here is the pear tree. There's a lot of fruit on it. This and the other pear. Last time when I showed them, these two were just exploding with blossoms in their prime. And these are the two that have fruit. The other trees aren't faring nearly as well. Yeah, lots of fruit here. Yummy. This is the Asian pear. Its fruits are really small. I think I have a lot to learn still about growing fruit trees. I think I probably need to be more aggressive in pulling off fruits, and maybe that would enable these to grow a lot bigger, because already they're beginning to ripen up a bit. They're beginning to turn more yellow. So anyway, I've got lots to learn. There's that one. The almond tree, I had anticipated having quite a few fruits on this one, because last year we had about 2 dozen, a little over. So I thought this year, oh, there's so much more growth, it'll have so much more. But no, they fell off. So this one does have 3 almonds. There's one, another couple back here. I did just get some fruit tree spikes, so I think they add nitrogen and some other things. I've never given anything to my trees. I've never sprayed them. I've never done anything, which is maybe why they're not producing as much. So I thought, oh, they could probably use some nitrogen and stuff. So yeah, I just started working with those. Here's the cherry tree. Been kind of wilted with, I think it hasn't been getting enough water, so I did just change the water around so it's getting more, and it has been perking up, so hopefully that'll fix that. Here's the peach tree. You can see the right hand side is officially dead. I'll trim that off. The apple tree, again, this one had a number of fruits forming, but then they all fell off. So this one doesn't have any fruit, but it's a good looking tree. And the nectarine tree did have 1 fruit. I just ate it the other day, although the birds had gotten to it a bit before me, but I still got a few lovely bites. It was delicious. Anytime this tree has produced fruit, it is just phenomenal. This one has had a great big ouchie. So it seems like this right-hand branch is too heavy for it, and it has just been so sore. So I did just prune it back the other day to make it not so heavy. You can see I pruned something back there. And then this used to extend way up high, but I trimmed it off right here. So hopefully that'll help out and won't be quite so ouchy. Okay, there is the little garden tour. I'll send you back to the spinner of the past. This morning I also started some seeds indoors for some brassicas. So Brussels sprouts and some kales. I haven't had enough kale this year in my garden, so I'm going to fix that and get it going. And in years past, kale I find has lasted for years, really. So I'm hoping that this batch might even last me into next year, but we'll see. Along with that, I realized the other day I did buy some tomato starts, and I realized at that time that aside from those tomato starts, everything else in the garden that I have from this year, I started from seed. And I thought that was just really cool, that I started everything in the garden from seed. And some of those things, are even seeds that I had saved from previous plantings. Previous crops and then saving seeds. So just feel really good about that trajectory and that shift. I don't think I can say that for any other year. I've always had some starts of some things. And I mean, granted, I do now as well. I realized that I only had like 6 tomato plants and they weren't quite as robust as I wanted them to be. So I thought, you know, I don't think it's too late. It's a bit late, but I don't think it's too late. Let's add some more tomato plants to the garden. So I added 8 more plants. And yeah. Okay, well that is everything for this episode. Thank you for joining me, and yeah, I'm headed down to Torrey now. I'll edit this when I get back, and hopefully that'll actually be in the month of July. Okay, love you. Bye.